Good morning. John 1:12 and 13. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Who, verse 13 says, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. Born of God. That's an important phrase. For John, it's a really important phrase. While this verse doesn't technically put together that phrase, born of God, it's theologically communicating that. And he certainly is making that point, that they were born of God. It immediately takes our minds to John 3, Nicodemus being told by Jesus that he needed to be born from above, or born anew, or as we are more commonly used to it, born again. Well, that's set apart from physical birth. It's set apart from being born of blood or of the will of the flesh or the will of man. There's a spiritual rebirth, something God does. Interestingly, this phrase, born of God, is utilized by John in his epistle. It's utilized in like 5 different verses. So 1 John 3:9 says, no one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God. In 1 John 4:7, the last part of the verse says, whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. In 1 John 5:1, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves whoever has been born of him. 3 verses later, in 1 John 5:4, for everyone who has been born of God overcomes the world. And 1 John 5:18, we know that everyone who has been born of God does not keep on sinning, but he who was born of God protects him, and the evil one does not touch him. Here's the point. Being born of God, as John understands it, as he flowers out his theology, gives birth to a kind of ethical life of love and an ethical life of purity constituted in refraining from sin. So when he says at the beginning of his gospel that that these ones who receive him, who believe on his name, they're born not they are born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but born of God. John understands that to be a kind of life-transforming rebirth. This baby, remember, this baby we celebrate at Christmas, that he brings to us the opportunity to, yes, become children of God, but also to have our entire ethical lives reframed by trusting in him. Don't forget that at Christmas. Don't forget that the anointed one, the Christ who comes to change your life and mine, to transform us, to never be the same. Born of God. May the Lord bless you today.